Today's video is about Ethan Crelinsten. This video is special to me because I actually got to meet Ethan this past weekend, and he even let me spar with him, which I thought was pretty cool. And I'm not gonna lie, this video did show me how bad I am too, but I'm gonna go ahead and let it play anyway so that you guys can enjoy it since we have it. I got to feel some of the top pressure that we're gonna discuss in this video firsthand. I'm gonna go ahead and let the video start now, and I'll leave this playing in the background for a little bit so you can enjoy it.
What if you were a 130-pound skateboarder with zero athletic talent, and 5 years later, the best grapplers in the world described rolling with you like getting crushed by a Ford Ranger? Most people quit when they get a hangnail, but Ethan Crelinsten spent 3 years winning elite championships with no ACL in his knee. Today, we're deconstructing the man who proved that with enough physics and a 5-year plan, you too can become a nightmare. How exactly did he engineer this crazy transformation? Well, let's start with part 1, the kid at TriStar. Ethan's incredible lineage didn't just come from one single master, his journey actually took him through 3 really distinct, legendary eras. He started out analyzing the top game focus at Firas Zahabi's TriStar gym up in Canada. Then, he evolved his submission game under John Danaher's complex leg lock systems in New York. And ultimately, he took control of his own destiny by co-founding his own empire down in Texas. But it all started back when he was 19. Ethan originally just walked into TriStar to get in shape for MMA. He was a skinny kid who used to just smoke weed and skateboard with his friends. You know, absolutely zero athletic foundation. Because he was so light, he realized pretty quickly that Jiu Jitsu couldn't be about muscle for him. It had to be about physics, it had to be about leverage. And this forced him to develop a highly scrappy, highly technical submission hunting style from the bottom, really treating grappling purely as human chess. But to reach the absolute elite level, his environment had to change. Which brings us to part 2, surviving the blue basement. Can you even imagine this? When the pandemic hit and lockdown shut down New York City, the famous blue basement totally emptied out. Ethan recalled it feeling like an actual zombie apocalypse. It was just a handful of guys trapped in a room doing EBI overtime rounds for a month straight. And think about his training partners during this time. We're talking Nicky Rodriguez, Gordon Ryan, and Craig Jones. No pressure, right? So the really crucial point here is that Ethan was constantly getting crushed. He was locked in a room training exclusively with partners who outweighed him by 80 pounds or more. You can't just casually play bottom guard against absolute giants of the sport. Necessity forced him to innovate. He had to develop a hyper-dynamic wrestle-up meta, basically an incredibly active scramble-heavy guard game, simply to escape the bottom and survive. But massive training partners weren't the only giants he was battling. That brings us to section 3, giants and torn ACLs. 3 whole years. That is the shocking amount of time that Ethan Crelinsten competed at the absolute elite level with a completely missing ACL. Crazy, right? Instead of just stepping away from the mats, he gritted his teeth and fought through the damage. And he wasn't just participating, he was winning. He secured back-to-back ADCC West Coast Trials victories. Literally the first person to ever do it twice in a row. It actually wasn't until early 2021 that he finally went under the knife for a successful quadriceps tendon, ACL replacement, and meniscus repair. So, how do you dominate world-class opponents while physically compromised like that? Welcome to part 4, Mastering the Dilemma. The concept at play here is called the dilemma. It's a psychological and physical trap that completely defines his legendary K-guard and backtake wizardry. It's beautifully sinister. Really think about it. If his opponent defends his vicious leg lock attempts, they inadvertently expose their back. But if they try to protect their back, they leave their leg isolated to be broken. They're basically forced to pick their poison. And he achieved this through a very specific training methodology. Ethan deeply believes that most people just roll way too much and drill way too little. His approach prioritizes positional isolation. You stop rolling aimlessly and instead hyper-focus on specific transitions. And his absolute golden rule, never ever hold on to a dead position. If a position isn't working, transition immediately. Because he hated feeling helpless on the bottom early in his career, he developed a top game. That brings us to Section 5, the art of pressure passing. Now, these are the actual hilarious and honestly kind of terrifying metaphors his own training partners use to describe rolling with him. They call him a wet blanket. They compare his inescapable top pressure to a 1993 Ford Ranger trying to pull a Boeing 737. Basically, any resistance you give him, he just uses it straight against you. But how does a lightweight feel like a literal anvil? Well, he deconstructed the physics of passing. He doesn't rely on pure muscular strength. Instead, he weaponizes connection and surface area. He misaligns the guard by exposing the opponent's IT band on the side of their thigh, and then he just glues his chest to it. By avoiding the strong frames of the knee and elbow, he forces his opponent to carry his weight in the most inefficient, exhausting way possible. And this relentless pressure isn't just about exhausting the opponent, it's a trap door. It opens up an incredibly diverse array of submissions, from rear naked chokes to AOK locks. The absolute lethality of his integrated system means once he passes your guard, the match is basically over. All of this incredible experience culminated in a core philosophy, which brings us to our final section, the 5-year rule. Today, we can really see his legacy taking shape out in Austin, Texas. He's evolved from being the quiet technician in New York's Blue Basement into a true leader. After the Danaher split, he moved on to co-found the highly successful B-Team, and now he's actively shaping the new jiu-jitsu landscape at Simple Man Martial Arts alongside Nicky Rodriguez, Nicky Ryan, and Damian Anderson. They are not only constantly training, but they are also preparing the next generation for massive tournaments. Through all of this, Ethan carries a core philosophical lesson he learned from his 5 years under John Danaher. It's the dichotomy between the 1-year rule and the 5-year rule. You see, as humans, we constantly overestimate what we can accomplish in just 1 year. We get so frustrated when a few months pass and we aren't champions yet. But we wildly underestimate the massive transformation we can undergo in 5 years. Ultimately, Ethan's true superpower was never natural athleticism. It was unyielding consistency and a refusal to quit. As he puts it, consistency and discipline. If you look where you were 5 years ago, you'll see you've come a long way. He survived the basement, he survived the knee blowouts, and he built an empire, simply by showing up and doing the work day after day. Which leaves us with a pretty profound thought to take away from Ethan's incredible journey. Look back at exactly where you were 5 years ago, and then look ahead. Where will consistency and discipline take you in the next 5 years? Apply Ethan's 5-year framework to your own life, whether that's on or off the mats, and you might just surprise yourself. Ethan's surgical precision didn't happen by accident. He was a primary test subject for the most controversial mind in grappling history. But how did a philosophy major with a destroyed hip and a penchant for fanny packs become the Dark Lord of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? To understand the student, you have to witness the obsession of the master. Click here to step inside the terrifyingly brilliant mind of John Danaher.